Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. What's up, y'all? X-Men 97 just wrapped up. Gotta talk about that real quick. But before I do, make sure you do this, do that. Cool. X-Men 97 is finally wrapped. I want to talk about the entire series, but not going to go episode by episode. So the series as a whole, from the very first episode, has only gotten better. This is, without a doubt, the best Marvel Disney Plus show, period. Live action or animated. The detail and care behind every aspect, every single episode is a straight love. If this isn't a love letter to mostly Marvel cinematic history, especially in this episode alone, there's been little spots and cameos, but this episode, the final episode gives you every single cameo from everything we've gotten in the MCU thus far. The storytelling and the writing is on point and never eases up. It takes a minute to get going, but I'm enjoying everything until it does get to the main plot. The voice acting in here really lends itself to the emotion. It definitely carries over to that, making the show more mature. The action hits anime levels at points. The action is consistently good. It really comes to a head in the final episode. That's when I'm seeing the most of what inspired the creators. There are elements of anime, but most notably Dragon Ball Z. The art style and the action choreography, down to the action and the voice acting, you can tell it's made by a fan of anime. And those elements that they incorporate in X-Men 97 pushes the action to a level it never reached in the original cartoon. Let's just be honest. The original cartoon has some good action scenes, but I've never seen an action scene from the 90s cartoon that in any way gripped me like the action scenes in X-Men 97 has. The entire series felt like a super fan of the original X-Men series who grew up with it and kept it close to their heart for many years, and then finally got a chance to work on an X-Men project, and it just so happened to be X-Men 97, which is a spin-off from the 90s X-Men cartoon. It's a spin-off / soft reboot. I can't think of anything to bitch about. There was one episode that I felt slowed down. Didn't necessarily have anything to do with any of the other overarching plots. And in fact, it was a half an episode that led to Storm's main story. This episode with Jubilee, where she gets stuck in the video game. That is the worst episode of the series, but that does not make it a bad episode. And there's not any episode that's anywhere like that episode was throughout the rest of the series. That episode maybe stands out in this series mainly because it feels like a random episode that back when the original X-Men series was running, they got pre-approved for like 100 episodes a season or something like that. Somewhere around there. But the point is, they were able to throw random episodes or just fun Saturday morning cartoon episodes. They were able to throw those in more because they had so much time to fill. This series is only 10 episodes, so you don't really have that time to throw in a filler episode. But when I go back and watch X-Men 97 as a whole, that episode more serves as a throwback to nostalgia Saturday morning cartoons than it does tie into the plot of the main story. So even though that episode is my least favorite, every single other episode is a straight up banger. So there's a few people out there who owe this show a huge apology, because before this show aired, back when we just seen the trailer and everybody was like, why in the hell are they bringing this back? They all called the show out. They all said it was going to be trash. They all pointed out Wolverine and Morph, and they all pointed out Morph, and they all pointed out the woke and all this other shit. Now, if X-Men stories tend to bother you, that means at some point between the 90s and 2024, you have changed and you have become different. But the stories have always been these kind of soap opera-y, some would say somewhat cheesy and corny elements to them. But like I said before, I feel like with the story that the X-Men is trying to tell, that works for the X-Men and helping it stand out from Spider-Man or the Hulk or Captain America. It's a different kind of show because it's telling an entirely different story. And this series definitely continues the trend of soap opera elements. Sometimes it does get a bit over the top, but it never reached the point to where it took me out of the show or ruined anything about the show for me. If anything, it helped me connect it more to the original 90s series. Yeah, I don't want to really dig too deep into the history. Long story short is X-Men was created as a sort of surrogate to tell a story of oppression throughout history. So, of course, there's going to be not necessarily double entendres. Of course, there's going to be some double entendres or some things that line up to real life events for people's personal perspective and stuff like that. But the show never gets preachy. And that's what I appreciate the most about it. It tells a story and allows the characters to naturally get to the point that they're trying to reach, rather than trying to take a shortcut and reach that point and not worry about any of the actual story and character traits and motivations and stuff like that. If I do have to say something negative about the show, the voice acting, like I said, is fine. I love the fact that they got the original cast to come back to play their characters. But that does bring me to Wolverine. Now, I'm a fan of the Wolverine character. One thing I never realized from when I was a kid until I started to watch X-Men 97, I was never really a fan of Wolverine's voice. In X-Men 97, it seems like, of course, the voice actor has aged since then. There were times where Wolverine sounded Irish or Scottish. It doesn't ruin the show for me. I can roll with it. I just noticed it. What I did was I went back and started the original X-Men series from the 90s just to kind of get some sort of voice comparison for the actors, where they were and where they are now, stuff like that. Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of Wolverine's voice actor back then. I mean, it definitely sounds more crisp and more like Wolverine in the 90s cartoon. I guess I was just never a fan of Wolverine's voice acting. That was maybe to me one of the most noticeable, voice differences. I've heard complaints about Rogue. Rogue for the most part doesn't. To me, she didn't sound too much different. You can tell there's a little more energy from the 90s cartoon, at least 20 years younger. For the most part, Rogue's voice, not only did it never sound off to me from the original cartoon, it sounded more heavy in the tone and the emotion. The things that Rogue has to do in this show, the voice actors did a great job. I always knew who Rogue was, but after this, Rogue's damn near my favorite character. At least one of my favorite characters from X-Men 97. Rogue is given some of the most heavy dialogue in the entire series, and the voice actor conveys it with such talent. Can't really call it anything else but what it is. That by the end of it, you feel for Rogue, and you can see it, especially in that last battle, final episode, when it all really comes to a head for Rogue. Hands down, Rogue is the GOAT of the first season. I'm trying to be sure, because there were a lot of good characters and a lot of great character moments. But Rogue stands out to me throughout the entire series. If you haven't been watching X-Men 97, highly suggest you binge watch it right now, and tell me if you don't binge watch it again after that, because it is that good. And it gets the first ever. This is going to be the highest ranking for any movie or TV show. I can't think of anything else to give this besides a mandatory viewing. This is mandatory viewing. This is one of those you can't miss if you've been a Marvel fan, and especially if you've been a disappointed Marvel fan for a few years now. And I would understand if you were hesitant on watching it because how Marvel has been lately. But this one is a straight up banger. I have not been invested into a Disney Plus Marvel show maybe since WandaVision, since before WandaVision ended. And this has a way better ending than WandaVision. Definitely setting up for season 2. It's been a fun, I really don't know how long it's been. This has been a fun season, but this one definitely deserves to be acknowledged. The care that's behind it, the direction, writing, the animation, the action. I can't pick this apart if I tried. I have not been this happy at the end of a Marvel project in a long time, and it feels good. I hope they can keep this up. I hope they bring back the dude who wrote this season. If it's nothing illegal or anything like that, bring him back, because I'm not trusting new writers with this. I can't. If it was any other company, any other studio, I might be able to. I can't trust Marvel to bring in a new writing team to write season 2 without the main guy who wrote season 1. That's gonna be an interesting point to watch out out for in season 2 to see the difference in who did what, who really deserves the credit. For season 1, mandatory. Anyway, that's all I really got. I'll catch y'all next time.